So, I played myself to Mythic with really terrible cheap cards. I used to start playing Magic Arena last week, of course the Final Fantasy main release, right? And this is how most of my games looked, right? I literally just played with the cheapest card that I got. I tried to play blue and white, because I knew that blue, with the counter spells and flash cards, would be able to trick, like bad players. That's my tier, right? And then I like white because of the white cheap dudes. And it was an interesting experience. I didn't spend any money. I didn't open any extra packs, the one that I got, right? It took me less than a week. And I don't know, I hope people have learned something from this video and we have some fun to talk about, because I did find an interesting growth going up there, right? And I liked it. So I'm a very good limited player Magic in the past, right? In Hearthstone and so on. I used to work on Hearthstone, other card games. So I'm into card games in general, right? Just forcing myself to not open any extra packs or whatever, not using any money, is being like, okay, how can I get up there? I did enjoy it because I felt limited, right? Like, why don't I have 2 of these aliens? I have 1 of them. I've shown my deck list soon here, but my deck list is crazy because this is like many cards, right? I have like 1 of them. I only have 1 Mythic Rare, so I just pick that one. Sometimes I would love to have 3 of these one, right? But I don't have it, so I just have 1 of them. So I've been a game developer for many years, and coming in playing Arena, I was interested to understand how the system works, right? So I didn't spend any money, but of course I spent these like jump-in tokens. So I did this thing twice, right, to get some of the cards, and then I played blue mostly then, right, because I was like aiming to buy a blue-white deck, and got some of the draw cards there and so on. And then I like VV a lot in Final Fantasy, so I did play like a blue-red thing, so I got the VV Mythical Rare there. So I managed to get this thing 3 times, another one 2 times. So I got the VV deck, played with it a little bit, but mostly then, this is the blue-white deck I kept playing, right? So I will show you guys, and this deck, I played it, and I got to like platinum with this deck without changing it, like almost winning every game, right? So my general theory, and this I think goes for a lot of like, how say it, casual players, right, is that flash and instant spells is very powerful. So I won like 90% of my games, right, after platinum, easily, probably more than that. Only lost if I had, only lands in my hand, right? Because cards that I use them, right, are stuff like, Sailor with flash, right? It is stuff like, what is it, the 4/2 Trickster with flash, everything flash, right? So what I've seen, and the second thing I'm thinking most previous, is that people have really bad handling when the mana is open on your turn, right? So counter spells, and of course then flash cards, like I can throw them in your turn, right, really mess up people. So in bronze and silver and so on, right, I would very often win straight up because they would calculate, my board would be like, oh, he can do 4 damage, I have 6 lives, well, I attack or something, oh, I will do this thing, right? Then I will flash out this card, and next turn I will of course attack, right? Then I beat everything with flying basically, right? Because I want to have, just evasion and hit him in the face. And you can see here, I just started playing with any random like blue, white, flying. But as you can see here, right, I just picked any random mythical rare that I got that was in blue and white. Right? This thing doesn't really work very well with me playing not mono white, right? This is a very good card though. So it's gonna throw out in anything, Riptide, random mythical rare cards that kinda work, right? Of course, I did develop the deck during the time though. So for example, I had this card I think is fantastic, right? Tempo, but more later in the video. But like popping up one to the screen, right? And but in the beginning I also had this guy doing the exact same thing with slightly more stats, but of course 1 more mana, right? Obviously a terrible card compared to the other one. So later on, when I changed decks, right, I would of course find more of those cards, right? In my it's called the packs, the random packs I got, right? By playing the game, by ranking up. So then I would have 2 of those and so on, right? So this is slightly improved it, but the last version I have next to it here, it is the final version, and I never got that many good cards. And of course, sometimes I was thinking, oh, should I go and buy stuff? Should I go and buy maybe like this, the starter pack or something, right? Get some gems, play some stuff, play some drafts or whatever, but I kind of also wanted back, I want to be able to do it, right? With a terrible deck. So it ended up looking like this in the end. So you have the Healer Hawks, 2 Sailors now, that's a very good card. One a little bit, so see this is what it means, random, basic enchantments to stop them, right? Some Angels, as I mentioned, 2 of the mages. This is my favorite card I think in the deck, Fable and Trick, extremely good. and you know, do some random stuff like this guy, you know. But this is what I like my deck, because it's like, why it's a completely, come on, I love my deck because it's a completely random. I'm like, this guy is pretty good, only one of them, so one of these, you know, it's like bunch of birds, because they are very good flying in my deck, right? And then there's some random, like, do you always pretty good, it also flies, you know, it's like everything is flying. This thing is pretty good, we have a lot of draw, this thing gives you draw, it's a bunch of random stuff, one angel. And then I have, of course, Leviathan, because of board clear and Ultima. It's just a bunch of random stuff that I managed to get the Mythic with. Just a bunch of random cards I got, right? But overall, the deck strength, right, is that I get a lot of tempo in the beginning with cheap cards that had flying, right? Partially starts with that. I can buff them with some equipment or some flash equipment, which is very good to trading stuff and so on, right? It's a lot of tempo to especially popping up them to the screen. But I think the biggest trick I have, though, to beat a lot of this crazy $10,000. I'm coming here with like a $1 deck, right? And they're playing a $10,000 deck. But the reason I could win a lot of times, actually, was this card down here, and I got Mockingbird. Right? This card is Cope is not a card. So I will face this, you know, insane enchantment deck. So they are summoning out some, you know, Phyrexian, like God Girl for like 10 million mana or something. And I'll be like, oh, I copied that card. And then I pop it up to your screen again. I have my own one now, you know. So one trick, I think in every game, right, where you have this massive pay-to-win thing, right, and you're playing the very cheap thing, is to have copy cards. Usually copy cards are pretty cheap, and you can just get them or buy them whatever, but you use money. And your opponent playing this, like, again, $10,000 decks, you can use copy that and get dear stuff, right? So that's one strategy I definitely used. And also, my favorite of this card is that you can copy the other push-up cards, right? So when I had good tempo, turn 3, right, you know, I pop up their guy, right? And then turn 4, I played Mockingbird, and I do it again. You can copy your own, you know, enter ability. But also, of course, turn 1, I just play it out as a 1/1 flying, right? So like I said earlier, everything in my deck has like 1/1, it's like flyers, except that like the guys put them on the screen again, right? But I can also give them flying, but for example with the enchantment that is, then they get flying, right? And also Dion gives everyone flying. So I have everything about flying and having the bird, right? And these are the kind of cards I really love, you know. Aven Interrupter, love this card. It's a 2/2 counter spell flash guy, basically, right? So in turn 3, I can stop your like 2 or 3 drop, right? Or maybe your 4 drop, and I can get my own 2 I got and maybe block something, so you also lose that, and maybe I can stop your buff. So then buff you guys a better trade, no, you can't trade anymore. This card is fantastic. I only have 1 of them, because I only have 1, but I would probably have 3 of them if I had more of them. 4 feels too much, because it's too expensive, 2 white, 1 random, at like, you know, for that mana cost. But this is an amazing card, because it does everything that I want, right? It gives a counter spell, and removes, like maybe a blocker, you can trap it in for blocking, right? And perhaps also then, like it's just everything. It's just so good. And also, yeah, it might block them graveyard spells and flash break and so on. So it does like a bit of everything, and it gave me so many wins straight up. I never actually used any money in the game. I haven't bought this thing or no anything else here. I'm only using the jump token as I mentioned. And yeah, I'll talk about more at the end of the video, but I mean, I guess the here would be valuable compared to everything else, but I think it does find kind of cheap, honestly, right? So I haven't, you know, bought in for this mastery thing, but I have to say, and obviously I'm not for saying anything, right? But even if you would pay here 2,500 games, right? And this is obviously the best bundle in it. Everything else is way more expensive, right? And any other thing is not even remotely as valuable, right, per price. This is like 53 euros, my god, you know, it's like incredibly bad prices, right? And if you just want to buy games, right, it's super expensive. But I do think it's kind of similar, this is, I guess, for the mastery, because, yeah, it costs like, what, 400 for a mastery? Then I would get like a draft token and so on, right? But obviously for me, and I think it's pretty clear, right, if this thing here, 2,400, was the same thing as this price, which is 2,500, then actually I might buy into it. Yeah, it feels really cheap from them, coming in as a new player, never played Magic Arena before in my life, right? Having no like games or whatever. It feels really cheap, really cheap. That even if I buy like the, you know, introduction like welcome bundle, I still can't pay for the Final Fantasy Mastery. It's almost on purpose for that. So it just seems cheap, because like, nah, I wanna, you know, because I actually might be willing, right, to pay to get this thing here. So it does sound really ridiculous, because honestly now I'm probably not gonna spend any money on this game ever, right? I got a Mythic and who cares now, right? But it feels like if this thing was the same price, I keep saying it, but obviously it's not the same price as the welcome bundle. Actually, I probably would have paid in, right? But now I know I'm gonna lack 900 gems. I got some gems from something, I don't know, some like welcome in my mail or whatever, or some other stuff like that. But yeah, it's like, you know, like I'm gonna lack like 400 gems, 700 gems, whatever, right? If this thing kinda gives me that, but I don't care about this freaking cloak or something, right? So am I willing to pay like 10 more euros then, 11 more euros for these things, right? And, you know, 100,000 more gems. Honestly, this to me is like a real weird deal. If it was like more gems and the booster packs, yeah, this thing is like, this bundle thing, to me looks really stupid. I would rather have, you know, these 5 booster packs, right? And more gems for money than these 2 things. I don't care about the sleeves, right? Yeah. Taj Mahal sleeve or something, I don't care about that at all. Otherwise, I guess I want to play more draft in the game. I want to try how drafting is in this game, right? I want to do that more. So this thing also care about too much. So it's like how you build your deck, right? I don't know what an A is. Is that a sleeve? The other ones, I never crafted anything. I have never used those things, but I guess this is when you want to craft mythic stuff, right? I never use it, of course, because I'm playing freaking cheap here. But this is something that I find a little interesting to buy. This like when you actually get to play the draft things, right? The draft tokens. That's kind of thing, right? So if I had the gems, I probably pay in here. Then I get 1 draft token, right? And I probably will unlock maybe 1 more something later, I guess. Maybe I won't do that. It's only 1 draft token. Oh my god, it's terrible. Yeah, it's 1 there. My god, it's so cheap. Yeah, but I might have, you know, paid actually. I might have paid if I would have gotten the mastery as well then, and I got 1 draft token for that, then I probably would pay for it. But now it just feels like, oh, so I need to pay for that, and what do I do with the gems then, right? Like, I buy a draft, I guess, or something? Well, I suppose that I could use my gold now to, like, buy in to one of those, the drafts, I guess, win gems, and then eventually I can use those gems to buy the mastery. But it seems to be like super complicated. Yeah, like why is this? It seems really cheap. First of all, when you do a mulligan, I tried to get 3 lands, right? But of course having at least 1 per color. So this is a very common fight I had. The Chocobo deck, right? I love Chocobo myself, love Sash, great character for that matter. Sash Chocobo deck, Sash is a very good character F13. But this deck is very, very common to face, seriously. I mean, so many times. But here you go again, right? Favorite trick, do some damage, force him to attack me, right? Get some mana out. But the real strength here, I think, is that I have that, you know, take up to your hand again, you know, this mage card, right? So now I can force the Chocobo up to your hand again after they built the tokens, right? So when I'm faced this like landfall deck that I'm facing right now, like the Chocobo and also of course that Hydra team, that's called the Snake team coming out, right? This is so effective because you can also just clean up that token builder guys, right? And then of course a Fabulum trick, I can like block the Tifa. Usually they have a Tifa, right, that gets out there. She gets really, really, you know, built up, right? And then you will like force her to not attack you. And then the next turn you will take up your hand again, right? So very good at like blocking this. This thing here though, I think is a very common, not particularly this Sentinel here, but I mean this enchantment, right? That makes everything come out as tapped, and they have a lot of self-heal. This is a very, very common thing to face version of this decks. And honestly, I find them very boring to face. This is like the most boring matchup I feel. Like here, right? Like a pure white mono. Oh, I block your attacks, so you can't attack me, and I will hinder your attacks and all that. Super boring. But you can see here, I'm just like the Hawk's gonna go down. You shouldn't be afraid of using it for tempo, right? You know, and he's like removing it and so on. So you want to attack all the time, right? But see, this is super, super common, right? But for me, I know that this is like a lifelink fight now, right? So removing the bird here actually gives you a lot of like, no, I'm just gonna force it up from your hand, right? You know, that's how I work, you know. But again, this is sort of a common fight to have. Different versions, of course, of this life game. The rabbit one is much more common to see, but this one works kind of similar. It's like a 1-2, right? Gives you life and so on. And usually this is how it looks. Because like a huge board, and then they have board clear, I have board clear, and then eventually have a fight, right? But card spell pieces though. Yeah, I don't find Mono White that strong in this situation because, like you saw there, I do have a couple of counter spells, so I will be able to, most of the time, right, like counterspell their board clear if I want to, right? Sometimes I even allow them to board clear because I actually have a better hand, I feel. So it's a little bit weird in that situation, but yeah, pretty common. Because here, I'm playing with a goddamn Riptide Gear Hulk, because it's like the best thing I had for Mythic Rare, basically. And this also, yeah, some white-red cards come into face. Not this monkey that much, but yeah, a lot of this like enhancement red-white, right, that will like shoot damage to your face and so on. I think the reason I beat those decks usually is because I have a couple of Lifelink cards, right? And I don't actually find these that very strong, these red-white cards, because they lose like one Lifelink card, right? They will attack you, you know, but if you have like one Lifelink card, that's like 2 or 3 bolts for them in your face, right? So it tends to be pretty easy. So when you mulligan, again, always try to like get one of each land, right? But I think it's pretty for any deck you play with 2 colors, right? That's a good start hand here. 1 island, 1 plane, and starting town, which is a good FF card. That's like if you play it turn 1 to 3, it doesn't come in tapped. So that's a great like multicolor card, I think. But you can see here, this is much my deck does, right? You know, you keep punching out stuff. I was thinking of playing Kiora first here, but I know I will spawn another fairy with her, you know, with disabilities. That's why I played in one direction there. And now here, I am very active, right? Always using these enchantments to debuff them and so on. So he gets double strike and so on, right? So that's a nice second guy there. This card also very common to face, right? This 2/3 Lifelink Death Touch Vampire. It fits it all the time, right? So he has a very annoying ability if it hits you, so I'm kind of sacking my guys just control it. But see here, right? This is first strike. I think it's a mistake. Yeah, this guy's diamond. It's a massive mistake there. I don't even know how he got up there. That was a massive mistake, right? It gives me first strike on my angel there. It makes it into a flying angel. So that's like a massive no-no. But you see here, another first strike Lifelink angel. So I love this card. Only have one of them, of course. Other mistake by him, of course. This here is a very common, I feel, matchup for me. That I find really boring though, going up, especially in diamond. So this is a white guy, right? He's gonna play so many white tiny guys, and I'm gonna play tiny white and blue guys, and we can sit there forever. And I hate this card. It's called like, oh, it produces 1/1, you know, production every turn, right? And we're gonna build up our boards here, and we're gonna sit here for like an hour and be like, yes, okay, you building small guys, I'm building small guys. And you know, it takes forever. So we get this kind of board, right? I've seen it so many times. That's why I love to have a few board clears, because it's like, okay, you're gonna build up your guys, I'm gonna bump up your guys, I'm gonna attack because you have too many guys, right? And they're gonna attack me either, and I'm gonna counter, and we're gonna it's very slowly, right? Good position here, and we keep building up stuff. And I'm just like, well, this is card draw. I love this card actually. I only have one of them, but I think it's great. You get 1 land, one card draw, right? It's a little bit of everything. Kind of ramps you up, but also helps you to kind of like, you know, maybe get some of my draw effects, right? So you can see now, this is a lot of this game, right? I do of course have Destiny card on me, which is a very good card in Destiny, because it also makes them an angel, right? So when I have the angel buff card later, they can actually, you know, do all angels, which is a surprise for suddenly. But see, this situation here, right? It's so common against white decks, I feel. This like mono white fraction decks. Yeah, you're sitting here building your board, they're building their board, and for some reason, I don't know, my deck just works against this. I usually win these things. I think I should lose them because they have so much more stuff and they have obviously more expensive cards than me, right? But I tend to have an issue with my deck because I love this card. Right? I keep saying I love Fable Trick, love my fairy cards, right? I used to, you know, play competitive Magic back in this in like Lovrin, right? So I play the fairy deck those days back. So I love the fairy decks, right? But you can see now, right? Suddenly I'm making this guy also into a flyer, right? And I want him to die as well, right? Because, you know, him being a thing here. But suddenly I'm saying, yeah, whatever, I'm just fighting in the face then. Right? So I win a lot of games like that. Okay, we're building up, but all of my cards can get flying. I can transform the Yawn into Bahamut and get more flying. So I can very easily like surprise them by like, oh, actually all of my guys are flying, right? So it's a lot about having, I keep saying it, it's a bunch of flyers, right? This here's a terrible high end, there's too many lands, right? If you have more than 3 lands, I also mulligan. And I will definitely keep a 2-hand sometimes. Yeah, never 4, never 1, right? That's basically it. And I always try to get again, you know, 1 of each land. But the same thing in any kind of magic deck, right? If you have 2 colors. And this you see here is a very common start hand for me, right? I got an angel out, and now I have my mage, so I can immediately, you know, push out their guy, right? Forgetting it. And now of course I use the draw ability here instead. I tend to use the draw ability with Sailor if I already have the tempo, right? So I don't feel the need to draw out like at my 2-2, you know, using the board, because I can. This is his positioning, so I knew he basically would counter that, right? But I wanted to force him to do that. And obviously I will lose this fight though, because he goes Bahamut, right? So, as a side note though, I do love this deck though, the Bahamut Yuna deck, right? The deck that I was playing actually during my last pre-release was actually this deck. I didn't have Bahamut though, but I went undefeated in my last pre-release. I played last week, then last Tuesday, and Yuna of course, one of my favorite cards in Fantasy. Sad the deck was I was building for in pre-release. For my first booster pack, I opened up Yuna, and I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna go. Then I picked all the different summons, right? So I didn't have Bahamut of course, unfortunately, but I had matched around, right? So you throw it away, right, and then you revive it with Yuna, or then Bahamut, right? So in that sense, I also put out here that it is, of course, I think an interesting challenge, right? To play Constructed like I did now, because I never netted anything, I never did any of the decks, right, that are existing or popular, and many times I am like, what am I facing? I don't even know what I'm doing, right? But when I'm seeing like a Bahamut flying into the graveyard, I'm like, okay, it's a Yuna deck, or is that like zombie card? No, that's gonna happen, because you're like, okay, it's like the revival of the summoning guys. So it definitely helps, of course, to also like obviously learn what decks are doing, know what they're gonna do, and what they can do. So I think that's really fun and challenge myself, because like I said, I didn't know that decks are popular, and I was kind of like, while I am ranking up mostly through Diamond to Mythic, right, I have to just learn and memorize their decks, right? So I'll be like, oh yeah, this is probably a Bahamut Revive deck, you know. Now of course the Yuna one I recognize myself to having played it in pre-release with a similar version of it with its weaker summons, but like, okay, I know this deck though. But a lot of the other decks I'm kind of like, oh yeah. But like, but obviously it is an important point to make, right? But at the same time, I think that's kind of how my deck also works, because I am playing like a blue-white counter spell deck, right? Which means that sometimes I don't know exactly what this like weird enchantment combo smombo deck is doing, right? But I know they have the counter spell stuff eventually. So it's kind of like, counter spell. You know what I mean? And I don't know what it is doing, but I'm just counter spelling whatever I see, you know what I mean? It actually kind of does a trick, right? Maybe it's just easy to play blue, but I feel like, I don't care like what 3 cards your synergy does. It was like counter the last card, I'm gonna win, right? That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. It doesn't matter if it's like X, Y, or C, or if it's X, Y, or an A, and X, Y, and W, right? Or X, Y, and Epsilon, or A. It doesn't matter, right? As long as I'm countering the last card, you will usually win, because that's the last card for the combo, right? So you understand where comes the combo trigger, and you counter that, it doesn't matter what the actual combo is, most of the time. With a lot of white stuff, right? And this was a great hunt to me, because you're getting the flyer out, but I'm showing the deck here because, my god, I hate this 1-2 rabbiting. This Adjani combo, I hate this combo! I faced this combo like, I don't know how many times, where they're, buffing up, every time they play a minion, right, they're getting like a life, and then you have some Adjani, some cat guy that gets stronger, there are more than one of course, I will immediately be like, I'm removing it. This is so annoying. It's gonna get, like 10 plus 10, 10 something. It's crazy. This one is in 3 colors though, so it's a little more strange than they usually are, and combining with landfall and so on, but it's like incredible common thing, right? But you can see now here, there are 2 of these goddamn rabbits, they're saying life, and yeah, this version of this deck is so annoying, but I'm just like, this card obviously is a trigger, right? To lose life, and I think it's the point I'm making here. It's just, I'm just gonna tap everything you have, right? I will throw all my enchantment out, I will empty my hand, and the thing is that this is exactly like in Hearthstone. If you don't have a board clear, I win. You know what I mean? This is one thing here. If I just throw everything on the board and you can't clear it, then I have, then I'm easy chance, right? I think it's important to understand in card games like this is that sometimes you have to just go for it. Right? Sometimes you have to understand that I am not gonna win this by playing, reserved and be like, oh, maybe he can board clear, then I will lose all my cards. Instead, you have to just do it, right? Just do it. So to go back here a bit, I win here now, then he's dead now. No chance, right? All flyers, all fried, baby. So in this kind of moment, right, it's kind of like, well, I clearly have the tempo on my side. He will get more life though by playing this, annoying rabbit card, right? It's 2 life per creature in this case then. But the thing is that I'm just like, if he board clears after I'm dropping all my stuff, right, then I'm gonna lose the game, right? Absolutely, sure. But look at my hand. I can't really hold either, because it's like if he board clears, I can't get tempo back anyway, right? I don't have any like good creatures on my hand, right? So if he board clears next turn, then he probably will win, right? If I drop everything out on the board and he board clears, he probably will win again, right? So instead of thinking like, oh, I should probably be reserved and like keep a few cards from my hand because a board clear might come next turn, right? Instead of thinking that, no, I'm just gonna throw everything out. I'm gonna, empty my hand, right? Because he either has the board clear and then he wins, or he doesn't have board clear, then I win, right? And the thing is, if I played more reserved and he wouldn't have a board clear, but he might be able to, get some good minion out, a good perfect creature to kind of defeat me, right? Then I will still lose. So it's a much better gambling that he doesn't have the correct AoE board clear ability, right? And I just crush him instead of being like, well, it might happen. No. Because I'm not gonna recover anyway. So all in is you have to be able to be all in, right? Because here, right, I'm just dropping everything I have, right? I'm just throwing out all my hand. I'm just dumping it on the board, assuming that he can't take care of it, right? Because then I know I'm gonna win, right? Instead of being somewhat reserved, thinking that because he can still do it, and I will still lose that. So it's better to just go like full face here and say, no, I'm gonna force him to hopefully draw the incorrect thing, right? Same thing here. I'm just dropping this 2-1 as well, right? I would play, yeah, but whatever. Like if he blows, he blows. You know what I mean? It's like, it's more flyer, guys. Yeah, like I'm not gonna care about this thing. I just gotta draw everything. You know what I mean? It's a skill you need to have, honestly, I feel, to be like, no, I'm dropping that 2-1 as well here. Like even if it's, he might kill it as well then, yeah, because he obviously will block anyway. But no, I'm more afraid of him having, like a reach or a blocker, right? I'm more afraid of him being able to kind of block my attack instead. So no, everything goes, to have all of them. Yeah, so he had like a removal spell, right? So yeah, of course, throw out everything. This deck here now would be a typical board wipe win here. So I think a lot of people do the mistake of being afraid of using AoE board wipes because they themselves are playing tiny guys, right? So I'm playing this tiny hawk and so on. I'll keep attacking. They only fly their turn and they go near. And I have Ultima on my hand there and Leviathan. So you can see that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go for his face. And then eventually it's gonna be this board, right? And I will clean it up, right? So first of all here, don't like this card. Don't want him to gain all this life, right? So I want to force him to be like, nah, no life for you. Arid, of course, that is a life gain deck, right? Okay, I've seen this before. In this situation here, again, right, I'm just gonna like force him out there. I'm thinking here, using the bird is probably better than dropping the angel. So I didn't do anything. I said earlier, I love having the flash cards, right? Here we go. Now we can counterspell this thing. Or if I'm going to board, of course, but would otherwise. So I'm just baiting him, right, to fill the board out there. This is a classic strategy, right? Even if I am normally the one trying to, get everything out, right? I'm like, no, I'm going to board clear, baby. We're going to board clear, right? See, so even though I'm also playing, a bunch of cheap white cards, right? I saw that, okay, he's going to do this thing. And now I'm going to, like, block this thing, right? Give me the tempo. But you see what I mean there? I kind of baited him, right, to take the board from me. So I could board clear it. I see a lot of people don't expect that. They don't expect you to have the Day of Judgment or team whatever, because you're also again playing a cheap white card, right? So thinking that, oh, I am only one doing it, right? But no. I'm obviously also gonna have it, right? You shouldn't be afraid of using it at all, I feel, this kind of decks. And especially, I suppose, when I'm playing blue-white, right? Little more tricky blue cards as well there. I'm not pure white. If I was pure mono-white, then it would be less likely, I would say, to have these board clears, because then you tend to be even more aggressive, right? But especially in blue, moon, or white, you can like, no, I'm not in moon anymore. The Leviathan there felt a little bit risky, but... and this I could see miles away, so you can sack him to put it Arid, right? I could see this coming like a mile away, so I was like, he's obviously gonna block now, and sack. It's a big mistake. Shouldn't have sacrificed sack here, should have not blocked it. Yeah, big mistake. Obviously, he's gonna do that thing. Super big mistake, should not have done that. He should just have like... taken it. He has 20 life anyway, he shouldn't have done it. And here again, right, I'm just like throwing out everything because I'm like, whatever, he probably can't clean it, right? But go back to that scene there though. This here though was an obvious mistake, and I saw it coming a mile away too, right? So you can sacrifice sack, yeah, and put Arid, right? So it's very, very like, it's very role playing, it's very lore accurate here, right? You can sack or husbando. But anyway, this is really stupid, honestly, right? You get full life points. 20 lives, right? What's the purpose of this thing, right? People are so obsessed, I feel, many times in this game to do their correct combo. Oh, look at me, I can combo this thing so Eric gets stronger and I get more life, whatever. how does it matter? Like, you know, I'm not gonna, this Leviathan will die next turn anyway, right? So by sacrificing sack here, you know, you will lose one creature for no reason really, because your life point is at max anyway. You won't die from like a life point situation here, right? What you lack here are cards, right? I got many more cards in my hand, so you should be afraid of, you know, losing out on the longer, like, you know, board control, right? Or like board zoning, whatever you want to call it, right? So he should have just taken this damage. The next turn, I would have dropped everything anyway, and I would have, you know, tapped down Arid with a tap down anyway, which you can untap though, so it doesn't matter too much, right? Then they give me a much better positioning. Now, of course, I can use Bahamut to, like, you know, recreate more knights or whatever, and shoot with Bahamut though, in a very long game. But they will still leave him to having sack to protect Arid when it actually matters, right? That's the thing, right? He actually is using his sacrifice sack thing here to protect her from actually nothing, right? He could replay her later, so, you know what I mean? He doesn't have to do this combo, right? This is super newbie. People are so obsessed with it. Oh, I have to do my synergy. Why? He could have had sack left instead, and then he could have kept, you know, attacking with her, and he could have, now I'm locking down her here, he could have kept attacking with sack at least, right? So now, big mistake, big mistake. People are obsessed with, like, oh, look at my combo, I have a combo here. It's like, yeah, but that combo in this situation doesn't help you, right? Yeah, it makes you weaker, actually. So yeah, I'm keeping his hand here, right? Because, like, yeah, I got a perfect, like, you know, 3 color spread here, 2 lands with 2 different colors. You should start a course with the land that goes down and, like, starts tapping. If I don't have like, immediate here, this is funny. Yeah, I'm summoning that 1/1. But it's about the people too. You have to be aggressive though. You're like, no, I'm gonna unsummon that card, man. I don't care. That card is coming out here. You're gonna use it to get mana, right? That will lose him so much tempo in his mana. I have to play it later, so right. You should never be afraid of, like, it's a Euro deck here, yeah. But go back to that. Yeah, I love this play, seriously. I love this play, right? Because again, he's gonna use his 1/1 to ramp up, right? He's playing a Euro deck for that matter. He's gonna, like, draw another land, right? Then the next turn he can draw Fenrir, right? He's gonna tap the elf, have 2 lands, get Fenrir out, get another land immediately, right? So now he has another land, there turn 2. Then he's gonna get Yuna out, right? At like turn 3 or whatever, or like, you know, mill himself, right? And he's gonna get like Bahamut turn 4 or something, or turn 3 perhaps, it's the perfect hand, right? So you can like, no, I'm gonna like freaking unsummon this 1/1 dude, right? Because it's gonna hinder his ramping so much, right? I think a lot of people will keep a summon in your hand to, like, you know, send up Bahamut or some other big ass summoning right later, but no, this is much better here. This is actually key, right? This is the moment where he will be able to ramp out so much faster. So by blocking the elf, ramping to Fenrir, you're gonna get so much time, right? It's gonna slow down his tempo like 2 turns probably. So that's much more important than to be able to later, like, ping up his bigger dude, right? You know what I mean? So this is actually much more important. So I think people don't do this enough at all in Magic, where I'm willing to unsummon like a 1/1, because no, this 1/1 is the start of his actual ramp, right? So no, this is where we're gonna do it, right? It'll be much more useful than actually doing it later. Later, you basically be dead anyway, right? If you get the whole Yuna, Bahamut, Masters of the Round combo going, you'll be dead, right? And especially if that's the round, because you can't, like, you spawn 3 knights, so no. This is where the actually key is, right? To hinder him from able to do the combo. Of course, the combo will come eventually anyway, but like I said, the combo now will be like 2, maybe 3 turns delayed, right? Because of this card here. It's a key moment here where I'm like, no, I'm gonna delay your combo by at least 2 turns. Which of course will give me a lot of time to build up my board with a bunch of flyers. I see the bird in my hand here, right? So I'm gonna build up a bunch of fly guys and then probably kill you when you summon Bahamut, right? Because even if you summon Bahamut, I might have, like, say 5-6 flyers. You killed my big bird, okay, fine, but you know, you still will die, right? But if I allow it to happen now, he's gonna have Bahamut out, like I said, 2 turns earlier, when I have maybe like 2 or 3 flyers, right? And then Bahamut will be too much impactful. He will remove, you know, one of my few flyer guys, and then I won't be able to kill him, right? So this moment here is actually the key moment, like, controlling this game, right? Like, no, I'm gonna freaking unsummon a tiny 1/1 guy, which usually will look insane, because it's kind of like, oh, this card is really good against big dudes. It's cheap, you know, 1 blue to remove a big dude, right? But I'm thinking like, no, I'm gonna hinder the ramping. Clubbing up with a terrible cheap deck, just threw out everything I had, like whatever, just pick it in there. I would often do this thing, right? When I started, just be like, you show me Mythical Rare or something, right? And I would just be like, okay, what do I have? I guess I have this thing, you know, and I just pick like, yeah, this half my deck was like, I guess I have this thing. I had this thing for like a game, and it's too expensive. It's like, I guess I just throw in Mythic Rare I, see what happens. You know what I mean? It was that level, right? Absolutely. Well, lastly though, as a new player, I will say I found this thing here way too slow though. Yeah, you can hope for 750, yeah. I found this thing was way too slow. Like way too slow, yeah, so you get a little more gold there. I played, of course, a lot of games in a few days now, and I will very much run out of these things. And explain if I'm, you know, tell me if I'm accurate here. What I see at least, you don't get anything from winning, right, after you have finished your quest, right? That to me is terrible. Yeah, I expected this thing to be way further along, honestly. I was just like, I've been playing for a few days, but I mean, you mess up the quest, right? Then this thing just stops. Like, I think this looks like a terrible system, honestly. Because, yeah, I mean, you know, I have to wait now for like, what, a few days till this thing's back, and this thing's like 1 per day, and it's like 1 per day or something. It takes way too long time, I feel. But I mean, honestly, that to me sounds really terrible that you don't get anything from winning at all after you have done your, you know, daily quest, right? Like in Hearthstone, you will get, what is it, like 10 gold per 3 wins. So you get like 3.3 gold per win at least. I don't know how that would be in Magic, but I'm guessing like, you know, let's say 10 gold, something like that, something like that, you know, per win, right? But yeah, it seems to take forever, right, to get gold and gems and so on. It seems to take insanely amount of time to get anything. I mean, and if I did the math correctly, this thing here looks worse. It costs 5,000 less gold than the other ones, but in the other ones you get 2,200 gem if you win, and here you get 950. This one looks worse to me, right, than doing like the other draft ones. Where's the other one? Like this one. This seems to give you more gold, right? Per gold, basically, right? So yeah, I don't know. I haven't really started playing the drafting yet, because money and so on. And I would guess that the better players would be there though. Not just in the format itself that is like limited, but I'm guessing that's where a lot of people spend their money. And yeah, I do think this one I think is really cool though. I learned about this thing, horse, you can actually buy physical stuff. Which I think that's really cool though. So one reason I might keep playing this game now though is that this is something I actually think is really badass. They're allowing you to win a physical, tangible product, right, by playing the digital game. That is really cool. That being said, it obviously costs like insane amount of gems. I haven't played the game at all this week, so I have like no gem whatsoever. I got like a 200 gem in a gift pack kind of thing, right? So it obviously, if I play this thing, you have to, you know, buy in, right, with actual money. But if you're really good at the game, so I'm thinking of maybe trying, because I am, you know, I would feel I'm pretty good, and actually I am much better at limited, at pretty so on, than I am at constructed. I've always been that. So I'm thinking of trying to, you know, pay in here then. But what I don't like, of course, is that I guess it makes kind of sense, because you can win like a $450, $500 physical stuff, but still, I have to use it buy in with money, right? You know, I don't like gambling. If it's like I have to gamble here, because I obviously will have to like pay for those games, right? And then, you know, play and maybe play again, whatever. Yeah, it does feel like I would have to do that, right? And it just feels impossible to like farm 8,000 golds. Maybe I'm wrong. Leave a comment below. Can you do that? And I mean, I suppose obviously, if you have played this game for years, you've done all like whatever daily quests and so forth, right, and other events for like 5-6 years, you probably will have gems, and you might be able to play one run of this thing now, because you have like stored up gems, right? But coming in as a new player, it's like, oh, I almost have to pay like $50 per run, right? Because it's like, yeah, even I have to say I think 65 is really cheap, honestly, and I keep comparing to Hearthstone, but I'm just looking at the math, right? Because it looks like sealed deck here, okay. So it costs 2,000 gems, right, to play. And I never had a game, and you get 200. The system to me feels really, really cheap, and I keep comparing it to Hearthstone, because in Hearthstone, right, if you go 7 wins in arena, you will get your gold back, right, you know. So I played Hearthstone arena, I got all the cards in Hearthstone by just farming arena, right, back in the days. And the thing is that you can go up to 12 wins, right. So if you get 7 wins, you get again your money back, but you have a bunch more wins to get more than that, right. So I do find Magic here to be really, really cheap, honestly. This is a terrible system here, because you're paying 2,000 gem, right, and at best you can get 10% more, 2,200 more, right. This to me looks ridiculously cheap, right, because again in Hearthstone you probably would have like, let's say like 3,000 gem as the best win, right? And maybe this win here would be like 2,200, maybe here would be 2,000, right? And then you have, again, you know, like, okay, you get a lot more if you actually win on things. Or basically, you would have like maybe another win, like 8 win, 9 win, right? So yeah, it feels really cheap, because here then, you basically, this is the limit, right? Where you get the money back, you get 3 packs, this is you get slightly more. Like I said, again, in Hearthstone you will have 7 to 12, right? So you have enough, you have 5 more games to play, right, in total. So obviously you will have a bunch of more step over here, right? Which again means that you might pay out a lot, right? Because in Hearthstone, I think I averaged back in the days, so I played a lot arena, maybe like 7.5 or 8 or so, right? In average winning. So yes, you would most of the time you just get your money back and get more cards, right? And some dust and so on. But sometimes you will get that 12 wins or 11 wins or whatever, right? And then you will get a lot of gold, right? Like 5 extra gold and so on. So you would get more and more gold, right? But I'm guessing they're like, oh, if you did that, people have infinite gem or something. But really, I mean, it would be so few people being able to do that. And if you could do that then, like if you could farm gems, right? You can cycle this thing for a few days, then you would be able to afford this thing, I feel, right? But it would still be like, even if you could farm the other thing, right, a little better, and you might get, say 500 gems per round then, right, if you're a really good player. It still takes you like 16 rounds to get one of these, and then you lose, then you have one bad luck here, and you lost all the gems. So I still don't really see this as a problem, honestly, though. What do you guys think? Because, like I said, let's assume that you get like an average 500 extra gem, right? 42,000 gems. Yeah, it still takes you like so many hours, so many farming to get up here. And then if you have a bad luck here, right? Because you have, you know, oh no, mana flooded one round or whatever, right? Okay, now I'm out of this thing, and then no, I'm didn't get anything. Yeah, so all the gems are gone again. I have a hard time seeing anyone without them playing like 24/7, being able to like farm up 8,000 gems to get the product, right? It's super hard. And again, even if they did that, they still would lose most of their games, because I mean, even if you're the best player in the world, I have a hard time seeing you know, going like 7 win, 7 win, 7 win, yeah, in this kind of format. No. It's too much RNG for that. Even I don't know what the best average here is for this thing playing. I have no idea, honestly. I wish I knew. I wish I knew how random this thing is here. If it was good average, I would play it myself, and of course it's skill based to some extent. But because there's the RNG with the cards, right, and you're playing best out of 2 lose, I would assume that there's no way that the average, right, even for the best player in the world, which would be me then, but it would be 7, right? The best average is probably somewhere here or something, you know. Yeah, like the average middle part, right? Even for good players, it's probably like 3-4 wins. So it's like, how often do you get to 7, right? How many rounds do you have to play to get to 7? Even as a really, really good player, it probably takes you more money than it costs to play it, right? Because now it's like, I don't know, it's like $1 per 100 games, right? Now it's like $80 to play it, and you get maybe a box worth like $500, right? So it's like, okay, I played like 7 times. Will I get 7 wins then? Maybe. Honestly, I do feel I want to pay it myself though, because I do feel, or maybe overconfident, but I do feel like I probably will actually win 7 wins if I play a few times. Yeah, like not the first, you know, deck perhaps, but if I do it like 3-4 times, I do feel I probably will get up there. So it does feel a little bit like, maybe I should try then. But one thing I would say though, lastly here, I hope you guys like the video, subscribe, something like that. But lastly, I will say this thing though. One day when I was playing this game, it was lagging a lot, and I kept disconnecting. It was like 2-3 days ago, and there was several games in a row where I was like, man, something moving to servers, and it wasn't my internet. It was clearly on the Magic Arena side, and some of the games just disappeared, or I don't know what happened really, right? That is something that I feel I don't want to pay for this thing here, because it's kind of like, they don't seem to have like a reconnect function, right? So again, compared to Hearthstone, but in Hearthstone, if you disconnect, right, or if the game crashes, you can reconnect your game again pretty quickly. So in Hearthstone, it's very, very rarely have I felt that, oh, I'm playing an arena game here, you know, it's like 500 gold on the line, I disconnect, oh, I can't get back in the game. It's never happened, basically. I also be able to get into the game again. So I feel here as a little bit, like what I saw there at least, is that I would be worried here, definitely, that it's like, oh, what if I disconnect one game or something? So I just lost a game then, right? It seems way more flimsy, it doesn't seem robust enough. that does scare me. Because I will lose my shit, right, if I play this game and I, actually use real money to buy into this this thing, right? That they will create the box, and then it's like, oh, you disconnected one game, and I lost out on the money. I would be like, what the hell, right? So it seems really strange. But yeah, leave a comment below what you experience from that. That's my experience at least. This game seems to have a really bad system to like get you back into the game again, if it even exists, right? If it even exists, basically. So that is something I definitely feel like a caveat for, in my experience at least, because yeah, I don't know if it's better when you play this thing, but it seems to be, I think, too unstable in this game to play it with money. Yeah, definitely. But anyway, guys, please subscribe to someone so you can have a great day.